Yes, it's Monday. It's Atlanta, Georgia, coming to you live. Dr. Bill Williams on the Influencers Podcast. I promised you a treat today. We've already delivered one treat, a fantastic podcast, but I think we're going to up the game. We're going to go to New York City. We're going to go with Vinnie Potestivo, the host of I Have a Podcast.com. Welcome to Influencer Podcast, Vinnie.
It's an honor to be here, sir. Thanks for having me.
I'm looking forward to having a good time today. We are enjoying Monday. It's the best day of the week. Get going.
A lot
right.
A lot of intentions happened this day.
Start
Late last
right.
night and today for sure.
Yeah. Well, I've been looking forward to this podcast for a long time. I know that the audience is in for a treat. A professional podcaster can put it out there and can share some good stuff. And I'm going to let you tell us the story. How'd you get going into this thing, and where in the heck are you going for the future?
What had happened was, I was an Excel spreadsheet guy, a creative who liked Excel spreadsheets because they can organize information and data. And I took that love for Excel spreadsheets and turned it into a talent database. I took out an ad in a casting magazine and I said I was looking to build my files, and I started to organize opportunities to really talented people, not even getting paid for it. I just wanted to connect opportunity to talent. I loved being in the middle of it. And that happened my senior year in college. I started my company, my agency, straight from my dorm room, and was hired by Fox News to tour the country with Hannity and Combs, a show that celebrated conversations and dialogue from both sides of the aisle.
I love that old show.
Yeah, an important show in politics and in just getting conversations organized.
It was the first show where people were allowed to yell at each other.
It was my job to pick the people in the audience who asked questions. And it's funny you say that. Passion is one thing. Passion and power can certainly push the volume to a point where discourse becomes discord. And it was that show that got the attention to MTV News. And I went to MTV News with the intention of helping them find more journalists. And what I came in with was the power of our story. And I didn't realize what we were doing was casting and developing journalists whose backgrounds and stories and point of view were part of the story. And I was there when Sharon Osbourne came into my boss and asked for a reality TV show about their family. And then Ashton Kutcher knocked on our door and said, I want to create a show. I need to show the world that I'm capable of creating a hit TV series, and I want to produce it. And we developed a couple of shows, and Punked came out of that. And just the revolution of storytelling, the power of storytelling, something I've seen in the forefront of media since I got started in 1993. So for the last 30 years, I've really been looking at how we, the consumers originally, and now we, the owners of content now, have a weird relationship, a powerful relationship with media and with each other.
If only you knew you were going to end up as a 10-second TikTok.
Right?
The message gets shorter and shorter. It started off with MTV, and then it just kind of got narrower and narrower, and now where we are.
It's funny too, because the focus of where the camera was shifted also. When I got to MTV and television, it was very much focused on the stars and the celebrities who were on stage. During the first 5 years of my tenure at MTV, it was celebrities and fans together. So shows like Total Request Live and daytime shows and morning shows where we saw both worlds, connecting, were that. And then I guess around 2007, the advent of the iPhone, we now have cameras, and microphones built into our own devices. I think that camera shifted from being on the audience to being shot from the audience, and that's where selfies like and social media
journalism.
Yeah, really. And it's cool to have been at a part of TV in the golden age of TV where representation mattered, and unfortunately there was space for one or two people to represent an entire community. And I got to see how that changed again, just because of these tinier screens could fit into more and more hands. And the power of media is it's unending. And things I did 25 20 years ago at MTV are still pretty relevant now. It's the coolest gift of content, I'll tell you.
I always ask my guests, what's the greatest failure story that they overcame so that we could learn from your mistakes.
Oh.
So give us one that really resonates with you.
Yeah, that's a good one. What's what's coming to mind right now is, so I'm Vinnie Potestivo. I'm a boy from Staten Island, and I thought I knew everything. I thought there were a lot more Vinnies and Joeys and Salvatores in the world. I thought there were only two baseball teams, Mets and Yankees. I lived in a very small world, and I didn't realize how, even though New York, I didn't realize, well, I say that as the disclaimer because I think I thought more because we were in New York, how much I didn't know.
And New York pizza was the only pizza?
New York pizza is the only New York bagels are the only bagels. We have good tap water. I mean, what weird claims to fame is that? And when I got to MTV and realized that I didn't know as much about culture and community outside of what I was already naturally attracted to, interested to, it was easy for me to not see opportunities that were presented to me right in front of my face because of what I thought I knew. And what I learned was to trust people who are already in the places that I'm looking. So instead of going out and looking for the stars of the next hip hop show or EDM show or a fashion show, some of these topics are way out of my league, but people are in my league. And if I can work with those experts that are in those categories and they can point me in the right direction, and if I'm bringing the MTV opportunities with me, and I'm not trying to be the opportunity, but I'm just using it as leverage to make a very high value connection. I didn't realize that how important that was. And if I would have looked in 10 years, I think we did a pretty good job at launching some pretty big firsts. Beyonce in her first role in the featured film, Mandy Moore's first TV appearance, and supported her as an actress and as a musician. You couldn't find stars like that if you look for them. You just had to trust that you were working with the right people and build the right network of opportunities, and then leave that door open. And I did. I left that door open. We had a show in Times Square, so I would let people come and enjoy it and consume it and participate in it because it was a fun place to be for pop culture, whether you were an artist or an executive. But it was really entrusting other people and asking for guidance, less help, more guidance from people, because I had something really specific to offer. And that's something I didn't realize that successful creators and executives actually do is ask for help, is trust other people, is work other people. I think I thought I was going to have to figure everything out myself because it was my responsibility, my job to sort of make it happen. And I am so happy that I learned that lesson early in my career because those contacts that I met when I was 21, 22, just starting at MTV are still awesome contacts of mine and people I can call up on and call up on me now that I have a different skill set and offering versus where I was before in public TV. I'm buying and consuming and creating content that the network owns. Now I'm very, very interested, invested in making sure that the creators that I'm working with, the businesses, the brands, or the professionals that I'm working with own their content. There's so much value in a catalog of content.
Yeah, you say your Times Square show is in your past. I was just up in New York a month or so ago on Broadway, took in the Neil Diamond story. But it reminded me of Fiddler on the Roof. And not that, but what you said reminded me of Fiddler on the Roof because matchmaker, make me a match. You are a great matchmaker. I mean, that's what you put your stake down early, that you could put people together, blend the things that were in your mind. You saw it coming. You saw the future developing, and you were successful. How do you actually look into the audience out there and pick out the one that's going to be the star? I mean, the world's an audience looking. How do you find them?
Yeah, it's like when you look up in the universe. You look into that night sky and you're surrounded by stars. So I just want to point out that as few and far between that they are, we exist. And they're our neighbors, they're in our church, they're our colleagues, they're people we grew up with. For me, some of that answer, it's an interesting question. Some of that answer is networking. So I'm just truly very vested in staying in touch and connected with the people in my life, especially if there's creative output. I process a lot of what I'm going through in life creatively when I work with people who also are putting their message out, putting out their point of view creatively. That really helps guide me and allows me to be myself instead of find myself, right? So I'm not so concerned in not knowing who I am. I'm just very concerned in being who I am. And what that looks like is being able to sit down in front of a computer and write and not be challenged and not feel like I don't know what to say or who to say it to, but that I have a network of people that I could do that to. And actually, I'm thinking now, I just posted something on LinkedIn recently where I wrote a post to myself, actually, which I've never done before. It was very cathartic. It was very rewarding, it helped cure anxiety. It helped me dive a little bit deeper into how I would creatively even communicate and listen to myself, especially in the audio format of podcasting. A lot of people are now finally listening to themselves, not just to the other people around them. So for me, it's about being surrounded by talent. And then I'm connected to brands who are sharing their mandates and their priorities with me. So I work a little bit backwards from opportunity. I know where if a platform has a window of opportunity, meaning a network has a 30-minute slot on Thursdays that they're looking for, or if a network is looking for an in-studio talk show versus a ensemble reality show. If someone's looking for a specific topic of interest, whether it's expertise from the talent or curiosity from the audience, I've been able to connect those dots. Yeah. And I think the Staten Island part of me is like the bridges and tunnels. Like it's on Staten Island, we're on a lone island. We need those bridges and tunnels to get places. So, I do so much so all over the place that if I wasn't consistent in doing what I did, I would have to relearn hundreds of systems. But I have my key archetypes and contacts in respective industries that I don't know. I love, to be honest, love more than networking. I love networking because I truly love working with my friends. I wanted to have friends that were talented and surrounded by people who made me feel more creative. Because as a kid, I got in trouble when I hung out with the bad ones. So if those 6 get me in trouble, then these 6 will get me my Emmy. And that's exactly how it works.
Yeah, I see the Emmy sitting behind you there.
She's pretty. It took me 25 years to realize that I'm not going to get an Emmy if I'm not nominated. And the way to get nominated is to pay a fee. And that every single person who's ever won an Emmy, a Tony, an Oscar, a Grammy has paid a fee. Maybe not the person individually, probably the production company, the film house, the studio.
Dues. You pay your dues.
Thank you for your consideration. Consideration is legalese for I gave you money and I'm expecting something back. And when I figured that out, when I realized that I was holding me back, that the 25 years in TV that I, the floor of the Osbournes and dodging hidden cameras on Punk'd and Housewives shows that I've been a part of, that none of those got me as close to this seat here in my guest bedroom in my little apartment in Brooklyn. Just the power of fortitude, networking, love working with someone who is proud of their work, and we have to apply. So now I show my clients how to apply for awards and what type of awards are out there and how to leverage them. It's not about winning the award. That award is a big flag for me, that's very proud flag that speaks to the expertise that I had on that project.
You opened a door that is so interesting. The secret to success in America sometimes is pay to play. Yeah. It's grease for the skids. If you're launching a ship, you got to get it going right into the harbor.
If you're gonna, especially if you're gonna launch it on someone else's harbor, right? Ain't that the truth? Like if you're going to launch it on someone else's harbor that they've spent the time to, make sure it's launched correctly and they have the equipment, yeah, it's going to come at a price. But so I love this analogy, but if we can build a stream of our own success, utilizing our own tools, we're uniquely shaped to be able to collaborate with people more uniquely. It's not even about standing out from a unique perspective as a creator. It's the ability to be multiplicative, to be able to collaborate with someone, knowing that I have a unique skill set and tool set, and that not only do I have a unique point of view, which is what I bring to the table, but my message, which is what we bring to the table. Like we'll share a message, but what makes it unique more likely than not is our point of view.
Yeah, you begin to have the ability to launch others into the space, and that's how you do the payback. I know a lot of people are motivated by giving back. So tell me, what motivates you to get out and do this thing, Vinny? What is the main thing you would say gives you the power?
Oh man. If I knew, I would probably challenge that source every single. You know what? I want to come up with a real solid answer for you here. What motivates me is the experience that a lot of creators have in the industry, professional or indie or not. How much of that experience is predicated on other people's reaction to their content or participation or permission to their content? And I've seen phenomenal artists. I've heard phenomenal songwriters not make it because their message was diminished. They were niched down, almost like a smaller version of themselves, which is just a testament that some people just don't have the right size projects for the people they're working for. And I realize that big talent need big projects to work on. They need big platforms. And I made this mistake. I made myself smaller. To answer another question you asked, I made myself smaller to make more room in my space for larger people. And I have to tell you something, a moon does not attract the planet. Planets attract planets. Something larger than itself does. And if that's not me, then let that be me plus the opportunity, that I bring with it. So for me, the experience, I've seen too many people never get past auditioning because they didn't book a gig and they were waiting for a hosting opportunity to showcase something that was so special to them. But by the way, if you have to get cast as a host in a TV show to showcase your special ability, I want to point out that what needs to happen is someone needs to pitch a show. The network is going to release $5 million to make 10 $500,000 game shows, and of that $500,000 budget for marketing and production, there's a small line for the host in there. So like all of these things have to work out right just for the old version of opportunity and visibility. And now you don't need a casting director from MTV to tap you on the shoulder at an NSYNC concert and say, hey, you got to look, come on in. I'm going to give you the opportunity, a big shot. That was my job. Before YouTube and Instagram and LinkedIn gave people the platform to showcase their own interests and skills. And when the world finds you, let you be talking about the topic you want to be talking about and surrounded by the people you want to be surrounded by. Part of that answer is I was brought up Baptist, and I was taught that if you ask for direction, he's going to give you direction, but it's usually like walk east or build an ark. And I was like, I got to stay busy because if I start waiting for direction,
it did not start with MySpace.
MySpace, Friendster. I can go back. I love
it didn't end when you failed on MySpace.
Yeah.
You made it into Facebook. Now you got to make it into TikTok, and what's next,
Well, the thing, so there was a point in time where MTV almost purchased MySpace, and there was a small agency of people that were picked from a couple of networks to help weigh in on it. And I remember saying, but if MySpace is such a big platform, who's the star? The platforms need stars, networks we have stars, and no one thought of Jessica Simpson or Johnny Knoxville or Ashton Kutcher as MTV talent. They just knew MTV, the Osbournes, Ozzy Osbourne, Sharon. No one thought that they were MTV talent, but they knew that MTV was working with these giant, that collaboration, right? Like MTV was uniquely positioned to give away 30-minute windows for storytelling when no one else had the ability to do something.
I mean, even zip codes became famous, 90210.
Yeah, right. Yeah, they absolutely did. Yeah.
Tell me about your company, your motto, ihaveapodcast.com.
Yeah, ihaveapodcast.com. It's a #1 source for creators who are looking to leverage content they own in the marketplace. So whether you own content, whether you are appearing as a guest in other people's content, it's the idea that like we do not have to wait around to be discovered and create visibility that's shareable. So what I'm doing on I Have a Podcast is profiling podcasters, focusing on they themselves, where a lot of podcasters tend to put the project before them because it's their creative baby. And I know I've been there before. And I'm so proud of I Have a Podcast that I don't even make the headlines. And the power that I Have a Podcast yields comes from within me. So that's what I'm trying to do on I Have a Podcast, is focus on the creators, especially during the creator economy, where not a whole lot of economy is coming our way towards those creators. I think we're finally headed towards what I believe people will call the community economy, where they really are just going to call it what it is. We're not as valuable. If platforms have the opportunity to use an algorithm to bypass my personality, and those algorithms allow users to personalize that algorithm, hence my personality, then the goal has always been the audience and the community and not the creator.
Your podcast is basically the honky tonk, the local bar for the singers to get.
Yeah, I like that. We got shuffleboard, we got darts. Yeah, exactly. Come on.
Now, talk about the 3 success secrets that others can model from. I mean, you take this podcast and you elevate it to another level. Obviously, you got to have your good sound. You got to have your good lighting. You got to have your good camera background. But more than that, you got to have a topic and a personality that's magnetically attractive.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that always helps. I hate to say this, but there are ways around that. I've worked with plenty of people who don't have a lick of that, but needed a co-anchor or other segments that rounded out the conversation.
So you got a thing that says losers apply here?
Hey, I am a fan of the underdog. I can relate to who's going to make the show. And that's how most conversations don't see the light of day, because people don't know how to approach them, don't know what the don't even know what that end result is going to be. So for me, #1, input dictates the output. Like what you were talking about, how quality matters. Quality matters. If we want our content that we're recording in 2023 to be relevant for the next 5 years, we should definitely be shooting in something HD or higher, right? Because the idea is not just the quality of our content for the sake of what it looks like, but the quality of our content for the sake of user experience on the platforms that people are consuming them on. Meaning, there was a time a few years ago where anybody who had video content could upload it to Amazon Prime, and we all had our shows on Amazon Prime. But what happened is they were shot in 420 and 720 and distorted video, and the quality was bad. And Amazon Prime started to get a reputation for being like the end of the block for content. You know, anyone who knew how to get content on there could. It wasn't a premium. It was a premium address, but no longer a premium destination for content, as I believe it is now, because the studio has funded and sourced and created its own content. So the input dictates the output. If we plan on our content being relative for the next 5, 10 plus years, focus on quality of the conversation. I wouldn't chase demographics. Demographics will always change. Demographics are not audiences. The demographics are the description of an audience from a platform, right? So chase the audience, follow the audience. But if you're creating content for the demographic because a platform has access to or is advertising usually towards that demographic. Those demographics will not even can change, but will change. There's like not a single TV network that I know of that has the same demographic it did 20 years ago. In fact,
Hey, we're all growing older.
yeah, yeah, that's it. And so the input dictates the output. To your point, if I ask better questions, I have less editing to do. If I have a stronger recording, a strong video recording, I now have the ability to take this and put it on television. And you can watch I Have a Podcast on DirecTV, Cox, Comcast. We're distributed by the Bespoke TV network. So BSPOKETV.com if you want to see show times or air times. We have high quality audio. So I also repurpose content episodes as radio shows, and I actually will drop in a commercial every 7 minutes because that's what's sort of, or 7 to 15 minutes is what's expected on. I treat it more like a radio show as opposed to a podcast, but I'm really leveraging high quality content that I'm recording, and I'm finding unique ways to distribute it. Again, all that comes from input dictates the output. And then the last thing I would say is pre-purpose over repurpose. That's the last thing. Pre-purpose. So like, don't be surprised that you have to advertise and market and promote your content. So like, who are the 5 podcasters? Who are the 5 social accounts? Who are your biggest fans that are waiting to support your content that you know as soon as you drop it, because you have a relationship with them, a friendship, a vested interest, a quarterly goal with them to move the needle on a specific topic. So like, pre-purpose over repurpose. Don't be surprised that you have to talk about your content. We have to get people sharing it. And again, that to me comes back to networking.
Yeah, I think they like that content pre-purpose. That's a very valuable tip for all of our listeners out there. Who's your ideal client to bring on to ihaveapodcast.com?
Oh, look, so for I Have a Podcast on my podcast, I go back and interview the celebrities and the creators who've made my career, and I've had a small impact on theirs. So it's very much a reflection.
The halo effect, where you let them shine.
Yeah, well, I'm like, and we examine that shine. You know, how did we get it? What did we say yes to? What did we say no to? I'm also really trying to show people the power of networking. There's a lot of producers who have access to celebrities, and a lot of celebrities are on podcasts now. What's unique about mine is I have the same ones come back over and over again because I'm showing you a real friendship of time as opposed to access to celebrity talent. So networking and that is a very familial kind of vibe to me. Yeah. My ideal client is, I think, the same as anybody's, a previous version of myself. So right now, that is people who were television executives or journalists or on-air talent who are looking to take the leap into the independent side. I worked with Macy's and Viacom and NBC and giant media corporations, both on broadcast and podcast side and the narrowcast side of streaming. So I really understand the messy middle of media right now. And it's people who are looking to create content for the sake of community to make bigger impact. The businesses who, and the brands who need a community to achieve their goals. That's my jam. That's like my ideal client, because I can make things happen. And
I like the messy middle.
Yeah.
I like speaking to the niches. That's good.
Yeah. Now,
how do you find these guys, these ideal clients? Do they come to you, or do you screen them?
That's funny. So yeah, I think I'm lucky to have, I don't say lucky, I work really hard to be lucky. I call my podcast I Have a Podcast because I'm signaling to people that I own my content. So I want to be very clear about that, right?
One of my mentors said, if you must speak, ask questions, speak to the obvious, and ask the question, the answer to which is a message you want to send.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh my gosh. Say that one more time. I'm going to let that soak in.
Yeah. Ask the question, the answer to which is the message you want to send.
Yeah, that's it. That's where I started. That's how I landed, and that's where I started. Mm-hmm. I can't tell you how many phone calls I get from celebrities and executives who say, I saw that you have a podcast and I want one too. And I was like, that's where this came from. And also I've worked with tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people directly one-on-one over my 30 years of casting and developing media content. So I have a really unique,
Obviously, you started at age 5, right?
16. I started at age 16. So I'm just hitting 30 years of media this year, actually, which is crazy how time flies. When I think of the mid 90s to where we're at now. But I was passionate about moving media. As a 16-year-old, I was an intern at the Community of Staten Island channel. I wanted to learn how things were recorded and moved and edited. Someone taught me how to take 2 VCRs and wire them so I can use 2 VCRs to edit. And when I already shared a little bit of my story, but when I got into my MTV interview, they told me that half my job would be, auditioning VJ hosts for the network. The other half would be down in the edit bay, editing those out. And I said, no, I don't have to go to the edit bay. I didn't even check, more like foot and mouth. I said, I can just do it from my desk. I can answer my phone and use 2 VCRs to edit. So I don't even need to leave my desk. And they're like, ching. And it worked out brilliantly. By the way, I left MTV in 2007. That was still how we were editing those reels. And also because the advent of what we now know as Adobe Premiere and the editing software available wasn't quite where it was. That all changed in 2007. So I got out right at the perfect time.
Vinnie, I'm a Betamax guy. I came out way back when.
I like that. I appreciate the inches and inches of tape. Yeah.
What about the competition? How do you crush it?
Oh, crush competition. I make more space. I do everything once. Usually I don't, I cast one Real Housewives franchise. I cast one or worked on one version of like the Osbournes, which was a family sort of ensemble. And
you're not a serial sequelizer.
I enjoy the process. Progress is it's almost bittersweet to me because it means my job is done. It's the honor talent at MTV would say, oh man, when you come to the studio, we're always like, who's getting the axe? Why is he watching us? I was like, well, I came down because my brother and sister are in the audience. I want to make sure everyone's hanging out. I got to make more space. You
were Axeman. You were known as Axeman.
Well, I was the high. The person who gets the hire is usually the person the person who opens the door is usually there on the same way. But I don't know how to say that.
You're the axe.
But you know what? It's always create more space. I'm the axe. You know what? I'll say this. I'll be the axe if that includes fortitude, if that includes carving my own path for me and others, then I'll take it. Then yes, it's a necessary tool, but it's a sharp tool. And
yeah. In your line of business, is there a product or a service that you offer people?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I have an inner circle right now, which is the coolest community that I ever thought I'd never have. Forever, I tried to figure out how to have a membership, a group version of what I've done.
Didn't we all?
One-on-one. I'm just really good one-on-one. And I realize if I allocate time to one-on-one calls every month and I have time allocated for group support so I can have focused conversations, one-on-one strategy and advisory, and then I can have moments of community to talk about the tactics and execution piece of it, that I'm better serving an audience that I wasn't working with. So I'm still able to retain my clients, celebrity names, and sort of globally known brands that I'm working with as a media advisor. But I'm now able to work with people in an inner circle that doesn't require thousands of dollars per month or even lots of hours per month. I've really streamlined the process, and what I share is tinged with opportunity. Like you said earlier, how do you make stars? It's not from knowing them. It's from knowing where they are now and where they want to go, and knowing that where they want to go is also looking for them. That's the magic sauce.
It's like having a pocket of gems you're going to hand out to them. They want the gems no matter.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
When I travel the same path in dentistry, teaching dentists how to be more successful. And when you reach a level of success, there's nothing else you can do. What do? You teach the next guy up to come up the ladder.
Yeah.
and it's more fulfilling. I know you get fulfilled when the people in your inner circle, they succeed.
Yeah, well, it's fulfilling too because you end up learning in the process, right? Like just from the act of teaching, whether it's a refinement of words and vocabulary, or a better understanding of new opportunities because of new platforms. You get so much out of it. But I'm not going to wait till the very end to start my legacy. Like, I started my legacy when I stepped my toe into media, and it's in those friendships and relationships that I have, and how I've empowered my friends and how they continue to empower me. It's the ups and downs. I got to acknowledge that there are tremendous ups and downs if you were going to be in the creative industry, and having friends who are there for you, especially all my creative friends now that are going through the strike, that don't have jobs because of a creator economy. Get me started on this.
That's true. Yeah, the professionals have lost
Ups
out
and downs. Yeah.
to the amateurs. What about the platforms? Do you promote or have particular ones you prefer?
Yeah, my top 3 are LinkedIn, YouTube, and Pinterest. Mostly because what happens on those 3 platforms also happens on Google and other search platforms. What happens on TikTok is searchable in TikTok. What happens on Instagram is searchable within Instagram. I just haven't seen reach support creators the same way that YouTube and Pinterest do with the creative arts. And as a creator, I love being on LinkedIn. Creators are exotic on a business platform, and we hone in on our point of view and stay true to our skill set and the tools that we know how to use. We can really help a lot of businesses, again, meet in this messy middle of media where suddenly every company is now is expected to be a production company. How about this? Let's forget all the supposed tos. How about every company is now capable of creating intellectual property that they can own forever and leverage forever, and people can do the same exact thing. Like, that's powerful. And to me, those opportunities are happening on LinkedIn, and I hang out on LinkedIn a whole lot for that reason. And I use my videos on YouTube, but I embed them in my LinkedIn newsletters, and I take all my photo assets from my LinkedIn newsletters and I publish them to Pinterest. So I've really built a nice ecosystem of visibility and shareability. And that's the trick. Visibility times shareability equals discoverability, right? Visibility times visibility equals inflated visibility, which makes you like my eyes are rolling. Like, that person, that song again, that movie again. But if I can share it, if there's some part of my ego that says, oh, I love that song, I have to give it to my friends, I have to buy the single for my boyfriend, I have to share this with my schoolmates, that shareability piece is really what matters. So
Some of the
I
things
get
you mentioned
shareability.
are radically different from what most people talk about, at least that I interview.
It's true.
And you rattled off the ones you like, and Pinterest was startling to me because, and I was a Pinterest guy 5-6 years ago, but I haven't kept up with it because I didn't see it applicable to what I was doing. So how do you actually put Pinterest to work for you?
Yeah. So let's think of this right now. I believe that search is seen as output, right? So, like, if we go to Google, we'll type in something, and then usually the results of search are the output of our question. Even on Chat GPT, right? We type in a question. If we're asking for an answer from that question, search is output. Well, what's shifting now because of AI is search is input. What's shifting now is that those AI creative platforms that are pulling images, that are pulling videos, are pulling them from someplace. And those databases, those sources are YouTube and Pinterest. And I'd be curious for you to go back into Pinterest, and we can do this off here, and then we can do a little follow-up if you want in the notes. I'd be curious to see over the last 5 years how much of your content continued to gain visibility, because that's the benefit of Pinterest. And if you have intellectual property, if you're creating original artwork to promote your podcast, that's intellectual property that you own. You have rights and license to. By putting that on Pinterest will make you its evergreen, long form, searchable way to bring people to that one specific niched episode, that one specific niched conversation. And I'm using artwork now to pull the attention in for people. And I'm using messaging now to pull the attention into people who are looking for niched conversations on Pinterest. And that's how I'm growing my audience on Pinterest, is based on the topics, as opposed to the topics and the people that I'm working with, as opposed to my personal brand. And I use that same strategy on YouTube as well. And again, it's the idea that Pinterest is the number one way to search for photos online. And if I come up in Google and Yahoo with these images, then I'm seen, way more than I would be if I was on more traditional. And also,
images and artwork are the attractor, but your message goes out through the podcast attached to them.
Yeah. So for example, I'll create a thumbnail for my LinkedIn newsletter article, and I'll take that thumbnail, I'll export it as a GIF file, and I'll go to Giphy.com, GIPHY.com, and I will create an animated Giphy with like a little sticker pointing to the button now. Yeah. I have images of me also on Giphy pointing and those things, so that people can add me into the conversation when I'm not around. And what that does is I tag in keywords specific to this conversation. And I put a link to my article specifically to what this photo asset is used for. So if you go into Giphy right now and type in creator economy LinkedIn, you'll see a bunch of my not a bunch of my old, but a bunch of my previous LinkedIn articles. And if you tap on them, one, you can use them in your artwork, which is cool because I'm trying to be seen as a source, not a storyteller. And two, if you click on it and tap through, you'll actually get to the article as well. So I think search search was outbound and is very much inbound. The intent to use the information we have, this is not a new notion, but I'm seeing it used tremendously. So I have an image of me drinking my coffee. If y'all go to Giphy.com, or if you are in your if you have Giphy on your keyboards on your iOS, or where the stickers are, and Instagram, and you type in the word LinkedIn, you'll see me drinking a cup of coffee, hanging out at the LinkedIn headquarters. That image is being pulled by other AI video creator platforms. I'm seeing that image on TikTok, and I'm not even on TikTok. So you ask me, where most people are so focused on TikTok, I just want to be part of the content where the community who is pulling a source piece of content will use my source. And I will be seen as a source, as opposed to, again, a storyteller. And I think there's a lot of weight that comes with being seen as the source. Being a trusted source can tell more stories, can sell more stories than a storyteller can.
Excellent. Great story. Great podcast so far. But I want to ask you, what are you grateful for today, Vinnie?
Oh gosh, the opportunity just to be me, the flexibility, the knowledge that I have to create content that supports my personality and my goals. And if I can uniquely find a way, with the tremendous amount of information I have, if I can uniquely find a way to dispel and discern all that info and just be able to show up as my real authentic self, and I can be successful because of media, not in spite of media, then I'm in flow. And I'm really grateful that it's never been easier for people to create content and community. And this is proof.
Absolutely. Now, you're in Brooklyn.
I am.
You're a classic New Yorker, but you really say, I'm from Brooklyn. You're not from New York. I went to Brooklyn for my first partner in dentistry's wedding, and we had a real Jewish wedding, and we had a real party the night before. And we really found out how Brooklyn can be really great in Brooklyn. Yeah, so what do you do to start your day there?
Oh yeah, here in Brooklyn. Well, I get up around 5:30. I got pups, so it's and they're a little bit older, so it's medicine time and pills time and massaging the paws and just making sure my support system is taken care of, because God knows they've been there for me. We'll go on. I live in McCarran Park, which is a really nice area to be able to walk our dogs around in the morning. And I probably hop on my computer around 8 o'clock and I start writing some content, just outbound thoughts. I check my Notion board to see what tasks I have. My day starts at 9 with my team, which is international. So I've got people, a small team, but we're all over the place. So at 9 o'clock, we align and come up with the goals for the day. And we set that intent. And depending on the Tuesdays and Thursdays are my recording days, generally speaking, for podcasting. So I block off those days so that I have time to make content with other people. By allocating that block of time in my schedule, I'm able to collaborate with a lot more people because I have a lot more focused availability, as opposed to just saying yes to all of the opportunities that come up, because I'm not only working with people who have existing opportunities, we're creating new ones also. And that creation happens on both sides.
Yeah, I like the schedule.
I have to say though, I'm an introvert. I need to measure my energy to spend it correctly during the day. And one of the things that I do that helps me is I kind of lock my schedule like 2 or 3 days prior, so like I don't, generally speaking, have emergency calls on this day, because I'm kind of like out of the way of those emergency calls. My clients have support. If you have an emergency, it's probably more of a networking issue because you don't know who to call. And I'm happy to, make that introduction so that we can focus on what we need to focus on without utilizing, just my time for those resources. But I have to measure and carefully plan those days, because I am an all-in guy, 100% all in. And I show up in podcasts all in too, because Dr. Bill, you own this. Like I trust you. There's no company and approval, and it's out of my control beyond that. Like I've seen in TV, we, the podcasters, own our content. We, the podcasters, make this podcast industry bigger every single day by recording episodes like this. So,
Absolutely.
any of y'all out there who heard, but why would you have a podcast? There's so many podcasts out there. And
why do you want to do another one?
Those TV people and magazine people who are saying it, but
all the way to Joe Rogan and in the bank account, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I identify with the schedule. I was a dentist for 46 years with a tight schedule. I saw somebody every 15 minutes for 8 hours. And it was rigid, and an emergency getting thrown in there was sometimes planned, but sometimes you didn't have time.
Yeah, but you can plan for that. If I need to make an extra 15 minutes, the beauty of what you've done, similar to me with castings, where it's real intimate and one-on-one, and we're like we're really just, connected there, and it's us in this space, and that space is only so finite. I don't like to pay attention to time. I like to focus on the opportunity hand. So I've gotten a really good sense for time. But those 15-minute increments will sure make you real good at making small talk real small, I'll tell you.
They're
and impactful, but real small. You'll get to it real quick.
Doctor, spend more time with me. That's always the thing. People want more time with you. And I always found the best way to spend the time was up front. Once you understand the people and listen to them, everything's going to go well.
Yep, absolutely. That's that pre-purpose that I'm talking about earlier, right?
Pre-purpose.
Don't need to be surprised by this.
We've made our fortune on what we call the new patient experience and bringing them in and giving them that 5-star experience. Yeah. And nobody else was doing it.
Yeah.
What advice would you give your 20-year-old self?
Oh, the same that I give myself now. Self-confidence to stand your ground and to talk about the things that only you can talk about, things that you feel called to talk about, to create the opportunities that you can create, not even the ones that you feel called to create because of a conversation that's out there that you want to react to, but because of a conversation that you want to start. So that all starts with self-confidence. And if I had that level of self-confidence 20 years ago, I'd be leaning on myself this way: self-confidence to ask for the clients that I want, for the paychecks that I want, for the opportunities that I want, for the barriers that I want to break down and rebuild. So for me, it's self-confidence to avoid the pitfalls and to see red flags from a mile away and to avoid the scams. When you have self-confidence, all of that flow, all of that process becomes so much richer. And you become so much more present. And when I'm afraid of time and I'm afraid of all the other things around me that I have no control over, is I can certainly, lock myself down in place. And I'm not saying locking yourself down in place is necessarily a bad thing. But development over growth. So development over growth, meaning I'm with a focus on developing as opposed to focus on growth. Growth is a byproduct of wanting to develop. That all stems from self-confidence.
I suppose you've got graveyards up there in Brooklyn. If you're walking through one, you look down at the tombstones and you see the date they were born, you see the date they finished, the dash in between. What do you want your dash to be? What do you want to be remembered for?
You know what? Here in Brooklyn, I would say it would say, God rest Vinnie Potestivo, a real mensch. I love that word. I actually thought it was bad. I didn't even know what I really fully thought it meant. I thought I don't know. I couldn't imagine a word that's created to mean someone who truly cares about people and is a vessel for kindness and goes out of their way to support. Like I couldn't imagine that word exists, because I felt like such a unique.
The word mensch is just that, huh?
But that's exactly what it means. It's exactly what it means. And and I show up with opportunity. And again, it's not just my life in that lifetime that I'm living or affecting or impacting, and I'm very, very aware of that. And I'm humbled by that reach and presence that I have in media. I'm challenged, and I step up to that, respectfully, so that I can, develop and do more and more. And if that's what I can be known for more than anything, I'd be a happy man, a real mensch.
I like it. The mensch of Brooklyn.
Yeah.
Hey, we want to support you and point people towards what you're doing. How can we do it?
Oh, thanks. Well, y'all know how to play podcasts. So like after this episode, let's swing over to Dr. Bill, leave him a 5-star review. Like, let this be the episode that finally gets Dr. Bill his 5-star review. I will personally meet you in the 5-star review section of said comments. So we got some work to do to support Bill. Then take a photo, screenshot, share that with me, please. If you want to just DM it to me on any of the social networks, LinkedIn especially. I love sharing when people share support. Sharing your support is more important than the support itself.
Sharing is caring.
Sharing is caring. And then, since you're in already podcast mode, swing over to I Have a Podcast. Like, if you know how to find podcasts, just like hook up with me there. In fact, hit play.
Who wouldn't want to?
Download a couple of episodes, because when you download episodes on Apple Podcasts, it sends a signal that we respect each other. It also sends a signal that people who listen to this podcast also listen to I Have a Podcast, and it could give Dr. Bill and I a little bit more visibility on it. Yeah, a little bit more visibility on each other's platforms. So that's the number one way. The number two, if you're feeling frisky, any of my social sites will have a link in bio, and my link in bio always has 4 links. On the bottom of my link in bio, I actually am asking people who really want to help. Like, if you want to know how to actually help me on a very transactional day-to-day basis, I'm growing my top voice on LinkedIn right now by contributing to something called AI collaborative articles. So like AI creates an article, and then a real person, come in and contribute on it. And if y'all
you fix their
I come in and I put my spin on it, and I usually challenge a positive challenge to whatever the AI is saying. But I have a link there that I change every week depending on what article I'm contributing to. And your help by supporting those contributions will get me a top voice badge on that article topic and that skill set on LinkedIn. And that's just more visibility for me. And I'm pointing this out. Also, I'm geeking out because I want you all to realize how to get top voice badges so you can get them too. It's a nice way to stand out.
Is the new thing last year.
That's it. Those golden community top voice badges. Like, LinkedIn democratized top voice and allows us to vote on each other on our expertise. It's a really cool opportunity.
What would you say about your guest experience on the Influencer Podcast?
A+.
Fun times. Couldn't ask for a better guest, I can tell you that. It's been a marvelous Monday. I got 2 winners today. I really enjoyed everybody that's been on my show today, but I want to give you the final word, Vinnie. This is your time to shine.
Oh, yeah. All right. So I appreciate this. The final word, I want to say believe in yourself. If you don't believe in you, no one else can. It makes it so much easier to believe in you when you do. And believing in yourself looks like this: showing up for yourself. I have a hard time sometimes even just showing up for me, meaning I have a hard time sometimes just getting to the post and writing a post. I know the impact it will have. I have a hard time showing up for myself. I have to remember the people who are going to get that message. So showing up for me, sitting in the audience, surrounding myself with talent is my way that I've been able to sort of cheat my inner demons and minimizing self and self-sabotaging self and the imposter syndrome part of me that a lot of us can probably relate to. It's the grace and the dignity and the community that I get from surrounding myself with talented people that allows me to show up, empowers me to show up every day. And I would say, find your tribe. They're out there. They're looking for you. And we are not doing this alone. Podcasting is a solo sport. We do a lot of things by ourselves in an industry full of other people. So just to be aware of that and collaborate. What makes us unique is our skill set and the way that we know how to use the tools that we have access to. So have fun with that, create, collaborate, and connect with each other. I thank you very much for this.
There you have it. Vinnie Potestivo, the host of I Have a Podcast, the Italian maniac of podcast.
Yeah, Maron.
The doctor of bringing people together, matchmaking. Well, thank you very much, Vinnie. That was excellent. We certainly enjoyed it. I'll put this out to all my people and look forward to many more interesting conversations with you, my friend.
Likewise, by the way. I appreciate this. And I don't get to meet very many dentists often. I think you're definitely one of like the 4 out of 5 dentists that I agree with.
4 out of 5 that recommend Vinnie Potestivo.
Is that it? I appreciate that, sir. Thank you much.
Yeah, I want to close by saying thank you so much. And those who are watching can find me at this digital business card. It's the OVU business card digital, and it's the way I prefer to be found. If you click on the QR code, you'll go right here to this URL. And what do you find there? Well, of course, you're going to find the Influencer Podcast. Vinnie's going to have his version up in a few minutes. When I get off, I'll put it up on the Influencer Podcast page at DrWilliams.tv. And I'll also be able to share with you everything about AI technology, which is what we're into. We have so many products, so many things available. And Vinnie, we're going to have something that will blow you away.
All right, I'm ready.
I'm not even going to tell you what it is.
I'm like, I'm perked up. I'm ready.
It's about O Media, and it's right up your alley. I don't know how far up the alley you're going to walk, but I know you're going to look into it because it's pretty empowering.
I like that. O Media. It sounds
so just go here and start to look at it, and when you see it, you'll recognize what I'm talking about. It's nothing to do with fast cars. Maybe not. Well, listen, it's been great having you on, Vinnie. I'm going to end the podcast by saying, share this out with everybody you know, like and subscribe, do the things you know to do. Go to ihaveapodcast.com. Become a fan of Vinnie Potestivo. Take care, guys. I'll see you on the next version of Influencers Podcast.